Greetings and welcome back. Hopefully this works today. We are back on the laptop again. I did get it fixed from last week. And I still don't have a kiddie screen or an intro screen over here. So hopefully everything runs. Hopefully it's smooth. Hopefully we won't get a lot of lagging, and hopefully we're running everywhere. I didn't actually test every link before we actually started. So usually I do that. So far, all systems seem to be go. I'm showing 30% CPU usage, no dropped frames. So that's good. I know we have good internet where I'm at. Whoa, yep, okay. And let me test. Oh, hold on. I got to reload Rumble again. Rumble reload. Okay, I'm pretty confident that's going to work. Rumble's working for everybody else. Hey, stop. Rumble, I did not tell you to start. Stop. All right. All right, we are working. So what did I do to fix OBS? Because apparently this has been a problem that as of 6 months ago, nobody has figured out how to resolve yet. And I found Reddit posts talking about it and all sorts of things. So you go to stream and it's like your video card's not set up right. Like, well, that's interesting because it is. But okay, let's push system updates again just to double check. Of course, we're using the latest version of Linux Mint on this system. And so everything obviously is good. So it's like you got to change, and the forums, you know, the one unhelpful forum administrator comes over and says, well, you just have to change your stream settings. Well, the problem is, and everybody's saying you couldn't change your screen settings because you went in to try and change it, and it would tell you one or more of your settings is not set, and it would not let you save anything. So that was interesting. Well, what ended up happening is you got to go into your settings and then go into your advanced and then go into your recording and then go into your simple. And you have to change the container because for some reason it reset the container to QuickTime Movie. You had to change that back to the open source containers at Matraka, whatever that thing is. And you have to change it back to that, save it, and then change back to your advanced, and then reset all your settings a second time. And that actually allowed it to change. So I was very helpful. I went up onto the Reddit thread where people were still mystified by this, and I left a comment over there about how to fix it. That seemed to work, so hopefully it's working. And battery, we are low power mode, but I'm rapidly approaching a place without clouds. I have seen nothing but clouds for a long time. It's been crazy. Let me see if I can actually pull everybody up here. That one, I think that's it. Hey, how's everybody doing?
I'm doing fine.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, there is no cloud. It's just other people's environment.
This is true. It is God's computers up there. We are, of course, talking about clouds, the things in the air that's blocking the sun, that's preventing my van from actually getting any solar power.
You're giving me snow.
I drove through a little bit of snow today. I did change my travel plan. I'm not going down through Knoxville area. I am instead going down to Bowling Green, Kentucky. So I'm going to be down there for a couple days, and then we are going to drive pretty much straight south and then hit Florida on the Pensacola route and then meander my way down south. So that's kind of what my goal is.
Y'all think you got a good plan there.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyway, Ivan, I heard that you were unfortunately had to touch like a Windows system today with like AI crap.
Yeah, well, I did it yesterday, and I noticed that Copilot got installed from running updates.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no, thank you. Get out of here. Shoot.
I don't want that. Yeah, get out of here. Yeah. Was Recall installed?
No, it wasn't.
No Recall. Did you check the Recall service in the background?
Did not do that yet because it's not really for my needs and purposes, I really don't need to worry about it, but I try to ignore it as much as possible.
Yeah.
But so I haven't actually like gone out and dug around a little bit. I haven't done that quite yet. I'm going to though.
What I've dug up is when you do the command line in the command prompt to check to see if the recall is enabled or not, and you come across and it says enabled, that just means that a Windows Explorer or dependency is ready. And then you do the command and make it unready. The recall itself does need an MPU or something outside of the CPU usage. And here's why, because if you put recall on your main processor, it makes the computer worthless for gaming or anything else.
Yeah, but weren't people able to get around that?
Not to my knowledge. It's an NPU type thing.
Okay. All right.
You can't run recall taking pictures of everything you're doing and expect to play a game without having severe frame drops.
Yeah, well, that's why even the PCs with the NPU are also having issues with games. But anyway, we didn't want to talk about that today. We want to talk about like Linux software on Linux. Which is cool. Well, let me check in on comments first. I got 37 viewers over there on Zatubies. Greetings. Hello, Night of Lights over here. Ivan's over here. Commodore Fan. Greetings, War Thunder. How's it going there? Commodore Fan, I might go up in your area on the way back. So, like, March. Maybe not. I don't know yet. War Thunder's on. Greetings. Too much snow for my liking. Yeah, are you getting snow, Ivan?
No, we got rain today. We haven't had any for weeks.
You might get snow by tomorrow. Dan, how much snow did you get?
I got just a dusting overnight, enough to cover the vehicle, but the ground was still too warm for it to stick to the ground.
Okay. And how's the Arctic Circle doing with sun?
So at least the part where I am, we had snow for 3 days in the beginning of the week and in the weekend, and then it melted. But now it's -5 degrees outside, and there is no snow, but it's cold.
Oh yeah. DaVinci. We got to remember when we get to talking about video stuff. Someone remind me to talk DaVinci a little bit. But yeah, War Thunder got DaVinci up. I should probably mess around with that. That would be fun.
And by the way, just to clarify, it's -5 centigrade and not Fahrenheit. That is really cold.
Yeah. Well,
that makes it even worse.
It's right just a little above freezing here. It's actually kind of cold. It's 18 C in the van right now. It's actually why I'm still wearing my nice hoodie. Ooh. You can buy yourself that at shop.switchedtolinux.com.
A mental illness.
Hello. What? Oh, no, we don't need to hear about mental illnesses right now. We're not. Comments. All right. Let's see. We got trying to get through the week. TMJ has been acting up. Not a big deal. All right.
I look kind of rough.
Joe's on. Greetings, Joe. Haven't seen in a while. I hope you're doing well. Very nice. Neo Hetty, greetings. Jack Dulani, hello. We're getting some feedback from you, Mark. Can you look into that?
Oh, that's weird.
Let's see. You all know usual kernel from Linux Torvalds. Libre is a bit different away that like Linux you get close to what you want. Yeah, there is a Libre version of the kernel which removes a bunch of things. So there is always that option there. No one's on. Greetings. Got an inch or two of snow. There you go. V Thomas, hello. Thought you would have gone south for the... I am heading south for the winter. I'm actually right at the very bottom of where they will get snow. So the first snowstorm's going to come around, and it's going to... I traveled through the very, very bottom part. It's going to stop somewhere around Elizabethtown, and I just went south of Elizabethtown, Kentucky today, and I'll be going down closer to Mammoth Cave tomorrow. I'll probably hike around the outer grounds. I'm not going into the caves, but to get my daily walk in, I will probably do that at the hiking trails around Mammoth Cave tomorrow. And then I'm going to head on to Bowling Green. But yeah, I am working my way down to Florida. We got 58 over there on Zatubies. We will get into our software in just a moment. We got 9 currently watching on Odyssey. Oh, we got some cat gifts going on over there. We got the cat in the fishbowl. All right. I hate it when I get my mayo in my beard. Gross. I know. I got some peanut butter in there. I'm actually, when I find some BLM ground next, I'm actually going to shave the beard off. So in the next couple weeks, you might see Babyface Tom come back. I don't know.
So you're shaving off your pantry.
I'm shaving off my pantry. That is right.
Little mozzarella here and some noodles here.
Yeah. Those are atomized leftists. Here's what. Sun is over the horizon. This point doesn't really matter. Yeah, well, it's this is that time of the year that the power gets really bad, and being that I'm usually in the deserts with a ton of sun, and even that, it's hard. I have not seen the sun in like 4 days. I am literally, I'm having to run the engine more than anything. We got 12 watching over there on a Rumble. Anyway, let's go ahead and if I can, oh, that's right. This version of Chromium does not allow me to actually highlight where I am on the comments. I'm just going to type bump in the comments so I can find myself. All right. But what we wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about software. I want to start with just a little bit of monologuing myself, talking my journey. Of course, being the Linux noob when I first installed Ubuntu, and I'm like, I got to see how I can get this thing to work, right? And so I'm like, how do I get my Adobe Photoshop working? Yeah, I was that kind of noob. I mean, I didn't have anybody helping me out. I wasn't raised on Linux. I mean, I was just, Windows became untenable. No, I'm done. I'm done with it. And
so then the question is, how long did you use to try to get Adobe working until you got something else to use?
Not too long. I was already familiar with GIMP. Where my biggest concern actually was not Photoshop as much as it was Dreamweaver. I did all of my early web design work in Dreamweaver. Of course, I use Bluefish Editor, which honestly works just as well. Now, Dreamweaver has a nice panel where you can do code on this side, and what you see is what you get on this side. There are a few applications in Linux that can do that type of thing. Most of them don't work super well, but the reality is, I don't do a lot of straight HTML websites. I do more CMS sites, and because of that, what you see is what you get editors don't do any. They don't work anyway. So I haven't actually used that component in Dreamweaver in years anyway. This is like years prior to switching to Linux. So all I needed is a competent code editor. And frankly, Bluefish is a very competent code editor. And there's other ones out there. I mean, I could play around with VS Codium, which is the open source version of VS Code. And then, there's a dozen other ones. Or you could just do a simple like Genie or text-based systems, which also do give you code helps, things like that. I am embarrassed to say, while I was trying to get that working, I was also, don't hate me guys, I was trying to get Microsoft Office installed.
Yeah.
Why? Like LibreOffice. Now, because you're used to the one and you think LibreOffice sucks, you hear that a lot. It just doesn't work as well. No, it's just not the exact software you have been using. A good example is Blender is extraordinarily competent. My brother's been trained on 3ds Max. He cannot stand Blender because all of his training is to the other software. If he were to spend the time to use Blender, he would probably get to the point where I am, where GIMP, I am so proficient in GIMP, I would take longer to do stuff in Photoshop. And so once I figured out how to replace those core applications, what I use, Illustrator, replace that with Inkscape, Photoshop, replace that with GIMP, Dreamweaver, replace that with Bluefish, and that solved all my Adobe needs. Obviously, we have Audacity instead of Sound. Was it Sound Blaster? What is that? There's a sound one, a professional sound studio one in Adobe as well. If it's still there, Audacity works great.
Sound Blaster is
Sound Blaster was a card, yes.
Yeah.
But there was an application for Adobe that did the same thing as Audacity. I can't remember what it is off the top. It had sound in the name. But anyway, once I looked into what I needed to do and got out of the mindset of I have to run this program and into the mindset of how do I accomplish this task, you got into the point where things were a lot better. And so I figured out what those were and I started using those alternatives. Now, as far as the applications that I was using the first time I got to Linux without trying to install something else, the first few videos on my channel were using OpenShot. This was kind of right before OpenShot had a major rebranding and they changed like everything. And once they rolled that out, I looked at it and said, I either have to spend the time to relearn OpenShot or learn something else. Kdenlive is more powerful than OpenShot. So I said, well, if I have to spend the time to learn something, I'll do Kdenlive. And so now all my videos are done in Kdenlive. And so, but there are, I still have OpenShot on a computer. I do want to experiment with the video editing, like the 2D linear video editing components of Blender. because I hear that works really well, and I haven't played around with that. So that's something I kind of want to do. Media. I absolutely, this is the one Windows program I really loved, was the Windows Media Player. I love the layout. I love the format. I love the design. Everything of that application was great. And
I did too.
Yeah, when I first switched to Linux, there was a program called Banshee, which was the exact same thing, just for Linux. I loved that program. Unfortunately, it died, and so it was stripped out of Linux distributions. Not sure you can install it anymore. But Banshee was absolutely my favorite. But when that died, I had to look into other alternatives. So VLC is generally what I'm using. Although there's Rhythmbox, which I don't like Rhythmbox because it just wants to go into your computer and scan and do weird tentacle.
It wants to make a massive mess out of all your music on one page.
Correct. And that's a problem. I don't want that to happen.
That rubbed me the wrong way too.
Yeah.
For me, Clementine's good enough. I can just build a Clementine playlist and use that.
Yeah,
I gotta say, Clementine rocks.
Yeah,
well, the thing
Clementine
is I don't listen to music on my computer. You know, I'm doing other things with my computer that music would distract me from.
Yeah,
if I'm going to go listen to music, I'll use an MP3 player where I can waltz around the house with headphones or something, or I'll use my stereo system and throw a vinyl record on it.
Yeah. So I do just a little bit of music when I'm doing like Bible studies or things like that are like more focused time. I will run some. So that's why I'm just using VLC out of simplicity. And that works. And Audacity. The latest updates of Audacity have completely broken the RMS Normalize plugin, which I absolutely have to have for... Mark, we're still getting a lot of feedback from your system.
That's
Can
crazy.
you look into it? Yeah.
It's the phone. What in the...
Yeah. With Audacity, the RMS Normalize plugin dying, that in and of itself was kind of problematic. And because like that's the one, I need that function. I cannot get around building and producing an audiobook without that function. So somebody says, well, try Tenacity. So I go with Tenacity. The downside on Tenacity is it's only a flat pack, which had some issues with the system. However, that being said, it did actually do the job. So I was able to, the last audiobook we released for the short story series, that was actually done on Tenacity instead of Audacity. So I got a chance to play around with things like that. So that's my personal journey. Does anybody want to share their journey of experimenting with different Linux software?
Well, the Audacity, I've kind of gotten really upset with it because they changed kind of the way you use it. You used to be able to, if you like ripped a whole vinyl record, you'd get like 6 tracks on it all in a row. And you want to cut each track out of it and make a separate MP3. Well, you used to be able to just highlight the piece you wanted, select copy, open a new VLC and paste it in there. And then you can work on just that song. Well, now you got to do something completely different. And I have to actually get a YouTube video of somebody showing you how to do it for me to get to that point. So, you know, I have my Audacity problems too as well.
They did a lot of things in the last update that required you to do some manual interventions to get it back. I actually have it back to the point where it's mostly working. I just got to figure out the RMS. However, it is possible. The issue with the RMS is because when I relayed the track for that one video, the sound was lower than it should have been. And so correcting the sound possibly could have fixed that. However, the old version of Audacity worked perfectly fine regardless. And so I had to come up with some solution. So now I have 2 options on the computer. I can run Audacity, and as long as I'm more careful with my audio input settings, then I generally can do a better job of it. So that's my thought. I see Ivan's out right now, so Salvu, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I started using Linux as a daily, this was back in 2001 or 2002, I don't remember which. I very quickly discovered, because my favorite music player on Windows was Winamp, and I liked the interface, and I very quickly learned the hotkeys for navigating around and starting and playing and so on. And then I discovered it was called XMMS at the time, and then many years later a fork came. Audacity is the name that I'm currently using, and I haven't really tried any other player, because I really like the way that the Winamp interface looked and looks like. And Nathan, or in our comments, YouTube comments, also uses this for the for almost the same reason. And in that you can use Winamp skins, making it look like. So I'm using a Star Trek skin on my player, of course. So
of course, we figured that.
I had some CDs I would like to rip. Is it better now? That should fix it.
That you do sound a little bit better. It's a little loud, but that's okay. I think you're fine. Go ahead. And if
I can
Mark,
fix
if you want to
that
give us
too.
Yeah, turn it down.
Yeah, turn it down just a little bit. And
I'm just trying to. I've got to turn it down from the app. I assume. Is that better already?
That's a little better. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and tell us your experience or something software related you want to mention.
Okay. Yeah. Like I used Clementine for a little while. See, with music. Is it music and video, or we just strictly
any
music?
Software. Nope, any software you're talking about.
Okay, well, I just Jody Bronson just released a video right off the top of my head, and he was complaining about Celluloid and the lack of options. There should be a video player in between Celluloid and VLC that is more common and well known. I'm not sure, there may be one, but I don't think there is. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's a bit of a problem, because I love Celluloid because it's like it's so lightweight, and I like to run. I like to have it on my computer in case I need to play something back for content creation or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have.
Yeah, it's of course quickie.
Yeah, it's just for just throwing up a video really quickly. It's great for that. And just watching it in place without changing anything whatsoever. But it would be nice if there was something in between Celluloid and VLC that had some basic granularity that wasn't so involved. If that makes sense for like normies.
I agree, because Celluloid is super good for, I have this file, I want to play it.
Testing.
And that's really, I'll watch some of the old 80s TV shows, and I'll have copies of them on my desktop. So I just need to come in and just double click the file I know I'm on.
Yeah.
And it plays without a problem.
Whereas VLC,
and VLC is just too encumbering. It's just encumbering. And so I obviously don't want to do everything with that. But yeah, we do need something in between. If anybody knows of any option to try, that would be awesome.
To get the word out, maybe if you're big on media and stuff, maybe go ahead and support that.
There
project
used to be one on
monthly.
Linux Mint that was sort of an in-between, because it was like the Celluloid, but it supported playlists.
Yeah. That would be nice. Something that's real normie friendly. That's a feature that a normie is gonna use. Go ahead, Sobu.
Yeah. So when playing a video on Linux, I am actually using a command line only player. It's called MPlayer, and I also have a VLC installed for the few things that MPlayer doesn't handle very well, which is not very.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so but it's just that I started using MPlayer when starting playing videos on Linux, and I like the command line interface. So I've said this before. I have on my two main desktop systems. I always have at least 6 terminals open at any given time, and just running a command and then the file name to play, the video to play is easier. But when I actually sit down to watch a video or a TV series, I use Kodi on my TV.
Yeah, Cody's my biggest one, or my friend Cody. I think I have to say my friend Cody, my biggest one. I watch a lot of movies with my friend Cody.
The only software that I'm using that is actually in danger of being removed in future distro releases is my IRC client, HexChat, which was abandoned earlier this year or last year. So unless someone forks it and continues under another name or something, in a few years I have to start looking for a new client, which is a shame because I really like how this one behaves.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully somebody moves it along. Ivan, did you have something to say? But I did mute you because I was getting a lot of keyboard feedback from your mic.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I was typing the strawberry. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah.
No, I totally missed that last 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. We're just it's just any specific Linux software you want to talk about, or Linux alternative software you want to talk about.
Well, let's see. Well, when I do my update stuff like that, I mean, it's multi-platform, but Audacity in particular. If I want to have like little clips of something to use in my own videos, I like to use Audacity to kind of tweak it down to what I could use. And going through and I'll have a version, and then I'll see it gets updated, through my Windows box. I'll see, oh yeah, update here, new version, and I go back to the Linux side, and I'm like, I don't really need to upgrade this or update it, because what I'm doing isn't overly extensive on the need for functionality. So, works just fine with the version I've got. Why don't I just keep using that and stuff like that? So, and even stuff like LibreOffice, like for Writer, because that would be what I would be using more so than anything. And be like, look, I can get the functionality I need on one version versus a later version. So it's like, for me, it's not necessary, so why bother? But in other instances, it's like, I don't use it, but I've got it. Might as well update it. So I do it. Just because it's there.
Well, that's a Windows mentality too, updating all the time. It's not necessary with Linux as much. So
Joe asks, I talk about Rhythmbox? No, we were talking about, there was something that played video on Linux Mint that you could do playlists in. Dan, if you can speak to this, there's been a little bit of discussion on Blu-ray and Linux. So I know you've had some experience with that. So can you give us any insight there?
Yes. You pull this off with flat packs. And what you want to do, I just looked at this today, flat pack list, is, okay, you have to have Make MKV. And I would install this first. Make MKV, as far as I know, Make MKV has a beta release for a user key that lasts 2 months. And then you have to get another beta key. It goes another 2 months. Well, about a year ago, I got sick of this and gave them their $60 to get a real key because I was using it. They deserved it. At that point, I felt I used it enough. I deserved to pay them because it has features that link directly to VLC. You'll install that as a flat pack because it is proprietary. It is not 100% open source. You'll install VLC. Just type in where it says flat pack install VLC, and they'll give you a number of a bunch of choices. Select VLC. Then you'll need to do that again, and it'll give you the same number of things. And then it'll have org video land VLC plugin make MKV. You need to install that. You need to also do the same thing over again. Flatpak install VLC, and it'll give you like 20 options when you do this every time. Yeah, and
that's
then
a lot.
Look to the video land .vlc plugin FDKACC, and that's going to be the thing that takes care of your menus and your Blu-rays. And if you're you don't have to go through all this if all you're going to do is play DVDs. This is when you want to play Blu-rays.
Yeah, DVDs generally work out of the box.
Yeah, or
With
you can
Mint, I feel like a lot of those codecs are going to be there.
You'll want also the
it depends
Video
if you
Land
select to install them.
VLC plugin
Uninstall.
BDJ, and you're going to want to pick.
Maybe.
You're going to want to pick ones that have the dates that are all the same, and all of them are going to have dates 3-23-08. I don't know how they come up with this, but there'll be other ones that'll be 22 and 21, but try and get all the ones with the latest 20 date. And it'll be scattered all over the place. You'll have to hunt and pick through them every time you want to install a file. You have to do the VLC flatpak VLC and install VLC, because they'll give you like 20 something things to choose from. And you got to cherry pick the items you want, but just make sure that the 4 plugin files. There's also a pause clicker file. I don't think you really need that, but they all have to have the same date, and they all got to be current if you want to play Blu-rays.
Yep.
I hope I made any sense there.
So
You did. The sentiment.
If you haven't
Just
started
steal
watching
that down.
Blu-rays, just ignore Blu-rays and stick with DVDs.
First of all, make sure
Make sure
your
the
player
normie,
can
yes.
play Blu-rays.
Yeah, you do need to make sure you have a Blu-ray player, a Blu-ray drive. So that's the
The
first
thing
you do
is, I'm
before
going to
you
be
walk through
honest
this.
with you. If you're watching videos on a phone or something especially, but even on like a decent sized monitor, there is not a huge difference between 720p or 1080i or 1080p and the larger, like the crazy resolutions like 1440p and beyond, like
here's
2K,
the
4K.
thing,
But
Mark.
I'm driving around though with Frank's 2000-inch TV. So
4K or regular standard Blu-rays are only 1080p.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
this does not play.
Yes.
There's another Blu-ray called a Ultra Blu-ray or 4K Blu-ray. This will not do that either, and you will be hard pressed to find a player for a computer that will play those.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal. I'm thinking the same thing.
Yes.
DVD is 480p, right?
I
No,
believe so.
DVDs I think are 720.
Yeah.
Are they now?
Oh, are they 720?
They're 720, 4K or regular Blu-rays are 1080p. At least that's how
Maybe
I've
it
understood
up converts possibly to
So then
720.
why else would they come out with a 4K Blu-ray?
I know when DVD was
Blu-rays,
initially come out, it was 480.
Yeah, I know Blu-ray were 1080p and 4K. I thought DVDs were 480. But they might have higher quality ones, but I don't know of any. I don't know.
Very well may be now.
The ones that I got here, most of them, when you play them on a 1080p TV, they look like 720, but you can hardly tell the difference.
Yeah, that's. I don't know.
And some of them have
anyway,
scribed right down to 720.
I want to move on and get off of the specifics on DVD and things.
Yeah, that gets a little bit in the weeds.
Alternative. I want to get into some alternative lists and things, because when you're looking at different software, we oftentimes get caught up in individual applications, and when we don't move out beyond those. And so what I wanted to talk about is just get into some of the options. So we were getting into Office applications. LibreOffice is probably the better of them all.
For me.
So LibreOffice being the better of them. However, there are other good options, or at least other alternative options we can look into. So
there are some good options.
LibreOffice, we have OnlyOffice, we have WPS, SoftMaker, OpenOffice, and then there's a number of other ones as well.
What was
you
the
can
one
go
made
into
by Oracle?
Oracle.
Was that OpenOffice?
No, that was Apache did OpenOffice. I think there was one based on Oracle. I just can't remember.
I can't either because
Oracle's done a lot of stuff.
There was
over
like
the
a
years.
GTK type one. I think
And
there was
decades.
also a QT office at some point in time. In fact, yeah, there is. I believe, because I think that's one of the ones you could install on Chaos, which is QT only.
Who makes Ocular PDF reader? I love Ocular.
I don't know.
That's my favorite PDF
This one
reader.
I'm
It's
thinking
KDE.
of was really popular until LibreOffice slowly
Well,
started stealing their thunder.
the most popular one before LibreOffice was OpenOffice, but that was
Okay,
Apache.
then that's probably the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was done by Apache, or at least the current
For
owner is
PDF
Apache.
readers, there's Events, Ocular, there's Document. What is it called for the GNOME one? The GNOME one is basically kind of like a glorified Events, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think GNOME just produces a
Document
bunch of
manager
cheap
or
Chinese
something.
crap, actually.
Sabu has a
Salbu,
comment.
go ahead.
Yeah, so Ocular is maintained by the KDE project.
KDE project. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So KDE maintains an Yeah, that makes sense.
Audio, we talked about these, but Rhythmbox is one that's installed on a lot of applications. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it does actually have a lot of advantages. One of the cool advantages of Rhythmbox is if you are into podcasts, Rhythmbox does podcasts perfectly. Anything on iTunes library you can do, or you can give it a custom feed. And then there's, I think, other custom feeds you can give it as well.
It's cool that you can add in podcasts and stuff.
Lollipop is really good. And so when you have Lollipop, then what I like about that one is it's gets that balance between fully automated like Rhythmbox, but also has a lot of, it looks nice. It has some design. Clementine, we talked about that one, is really good as far as customized libraries and things like that. And then you also have VLC. We talked about Kodi a little bit. So there's a lot of different things. Kodi, of course, does audio, video, does pictures. It's a full media center. Good.
Cuoid Libby is awesome.
You mentioned Clementine.
Physical media.
Let's not leave out the fact that they actually forked Clementine. There's another one that looks just like Clementine. It's called Strawberry. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I've looked at Strawberry too. That's kind of neat.
And Rhythmbox, from all I've read and all the research I did, will interface directly with an iPod. It'll replace iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to get it to work, but all the threads that I went digging through says that Rhythmbox is the only one that will do that.
Yeah.
That sounds probably about right.
Yeah, Mark, can you turn your volume down quite a bit?
I'm going to turn it down real low, like to the bottom here. I think it may. I've got the iPhone.
All right. So right now, so you want to look at graphics. So with graphics, GIMP, obviously we talked about that one. We talked about Krita. Also, I threw in there drawing. This is the one that Linux Mint wanted to. They didn't want to package GIMP, not because GIMP's not a great program. It is. It's just that GIMP requires more skill for basic photo editing. And so what they end up doing is they package an application called Drawing, which me with my advanced GIMP knowledge cannot figure out how to use Drawing. But apparently it's like Windows Paint. So
been around for a while.
Okay, well, called Pinta, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I use it.
Yeah, I turned you guys completely down when Mark was messing with the audio, so I muted you guys for a few minutes. All right. So what are the other application lists that we should mention there? Those are the three I had: Office, graphics, and audio, and there's plenty more.
There's something called Digicam that people like. I think Wendy over at Destination Linux, it's either Digicam she uses. Darkroom, that's the one that she uses for photos. She loves that, I believe. So
Darkroom is Darktable, I think is the one you're talking about.
That's my apologies.
You're still super loud, Mark.
Yeah, you're blowing my ears out.
Darktable is for raw photography. So if you are like more of a professional photographer,
I'm gonna.
if you're a professional photographer and you work with raw camera footages and things like that, Darktable is an application that, and I've experimented with it a little bit, and it is absolutely epic. We had a more professional photographer doing camp photos one year, and we're like, oh, take all your photos to Tom. All right, so he dumps all these raw camera footage. I'm like, yeah, you're a photographer, aren't you? All right, I guess we got to install Darktable now. But it worked out really well because you could take the raw camera footage and just go ahead and move things around a little bit. So that was one of them, which was really good. The other ones he was mentioning, like Gnome and the other application he mentioned, I forget which one that was. Those are more like photo gallery organizers. They're pretty cool in that respect. Go ahead, Ivan. You're muted though.
Yeah, agreed 110%. It's for professional use.
Ivan has the floor. Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was trying to type something in the YouTube chat, and didn't realize I had Jesse still up, and I was typing away, and stuff was flying up on the screen. I'm like, So I apologize. I wasn't going to say anything other than pineapples.
Pineapples. Well, there's Handbrake always comes to mind.
There you go.
Talking about pineapples. Handbrake, of course, is Transcoder. So if you have a video and you want to swap around files or change the keyframe or, make a DVD copy live permanently on your hard drive, Handbrake is great for things like that. Go ahead, Selby.
Yeah, so Mark mentioned Digicam just now.
Digicam.
Yeah, so I use that quite heavily in order to transfer photos from my camera to my computer, and that's all I use it for. I don't use it for managing photos of any kind because I store all my photos on folders that I manage myself.
You use that to develop them.
Yeah, I thought about using it to manage photos and things to find them better. I mean, can you imagine having the most epic meme collection and you can sort them by types? Like, I want to see memes about, cars, and then you get all the memes about, you could do stuff like that with that application. It's pretty sweet.
My parents, they have Apple computers. They have 2 laptops and a desktop, all Apple. And the photo suite that comes with Apple is very genius at sorting by types of photos. So, and this is all local. There's no cloud involved in any of this. But it will sort your photos based on faces or types. So if there is nature photos of your trees or of lakes or of animals, you can quite literally type the name of your spouse, for instance, into the search bar, and it will and then they will show all the various images. So there are solutions out there, and Apple is the only one that I've been exposed to. It seems to be the one that works best in this world.
Yeah, on Apple you can be like, show me the pictures with busts, and it'll show you all the busty pictures on your phone. Like, that's kind of frightening.
Yeah. So, but the Digicam, I use that for my camera and for my 2 Android phones that I also have. Just connects to it, and it will. I have never had any problems transferring files using Digicam.
Yeah, I just plug things in and just manually copy them, but it depends how you're doing it. Speaking of which, I do actually need to pull my dash cam photos off. I got some good ones. Even I hope it's still on there. I haven't pulled photos in a while, but on election day, I came within 3 feet of a bald eagle, and it might be on my dash cam.
Wow.
Nice.
On election day. It was awesome.
That's
so hopefully
awesome.
I have it.
That reminds me, just for one thing is having your photos on a computer, but I have I use a shell script in order to do this, but there are automated processes in order to do this, which is something for another day. But I have a hard rule for myself in that even though I have transferred it from my camera to my computer, I have to run a script. And then I sort it and delete images that I don't want to keep for whatever reason. and then I run a script which copies my entire image, which is an rsync script that synchronizes my images folder to 2 other computers in my network. And only when this process is finished do I remove the photos from my SD card in the camera.
Yeah, I do something very similar so you don't lose stuff. All right, I had one more category we're going to do pretty quick, and actually it's not on my notes on this computer, it's on my other computer, but I'll go by memory so you guys can I think you guys have this one. That's how do you test extra software if you're just wanting to test things out. So for me, this is one of the reasons I do use Flatpak, because they install so nicely and remove so cleanly. So if you have some software you want to test, I always see if there's an app image, I will always do the app image first because they're the simplest. They don't leave any mess anywhere. Flatpaks will leave a little bit of a mess on your drive, but there's applications you can use to easily clean them up if you don't know where the cleanup is. So installing them there, the last thing I'm going to do on a production system is install the repository version of it, even though that's my first version I go with when I'm trying to install something that I know I want to use. I want to do that repository version first. But for testing software, I go app image, then Flatpak, then snap, and then repository. Or another option, virtual machines. I will oftentimes spin up a virtual machine and just install the repository version over there, because if it sucks, I just build a new virtual machine. Or you can just do your if you have spare drives, like I have these couple spare SSDs in my drawer here that I throw Linux distributions on for testing, just install it on one of those, and then you can play around with it, and then you can go ahead and come back and get everything.
That's the downside to installing software, just to take a look at it, is when you uninstall it, it's similar to Windows. It does not uninstall clean.
Yeah.
Even Flatpaks, they leave us some spots, and I have them written down in the system folder where it just leaves the software and links and all kinds of other junk.
Are you aware of the warehouse application?
Yeah, it doesn't do a clean job.
Oh, really?
It comes close, but it doesn't quite get everything.
Yeah. So there's probably a few you need to do.
And saying,
I thought there was a command on Flatpak that you could run to do it in the terminal.
It doesn't seem to actually get everything, because Flatpak's got to take all distros into consideration.
You can go full on Hillary mode and use BleachBit.
Yeah. You can full on Hillary mode and do a
I imagine the cleanup
drive,
issue. I imagine the cleanup issue was better when Linux wasn't a monolith, when it was more modular. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it from a developer's perspective,
I think Linux is more modular now, actually.
Yeah. When you remove something you don't want anymore, there are a few things like dependencies, or maybe something left in the cache folder or in the locals or something like that. I just gets stuck there.
System D, did that not make it monolithic?
If I'm not mistaken, in Debian, apt-auto-remove should remove dependencies that are not used.
Yeah, unless the dependencies.
There's a command for it.
So unless you later install something that also depends on the same dependency, then it obviously wouldn't be removed.
All I get out of it is kernels that it removes. Every time I use it.
Yeah, it will remove old kernels too, yes. But it should actually remove dependencies. Now, it won't do that for Flatpaks, but it should do that for repository dependencies that are no longer used.
But,
all right. Any other ways you guys have of testing software before we go through?
So when I am, I don't do this very often, but when I do the actively test software, I always use a virtual machine, because then I don't care what happens to it.
Right.
Well, I'll just say really quick, for virtual machines, I recommend Virt Manager. Also, VirtualBox is outstanding. I've used that for years. Today, I use Virt Manager. And I've run Windows in a VM for a while now, but I actually run Mint in a VM now as my work computer. So for work purposes, it's fantastic. That way I can keep everything separate, working personal.
So using Virt Manager, that also works on remote systems. So I've told a few times over the 3 or 4 years that I've been part of this, that I help manage a few servers that are currently 9 hours away, that I need to drive 9 hours in order to get to the data center if I was supposed to. So we use a Word Manager, because it connects to QEMU and KVM and whatever and all the others. So you don't actually have to have a local system in order to test this on using the Word Manager.
That's awesome. Yes, you can do app specific. Kind of like an equivalent of like Guacamole in DigitalOcean or something.
But you need permission on this server that you are connecting to, whether be it locally or you need sufficient permission in order to manipulate the virtual machines.
Roles or permissions. I got you.
Yeah.
I want to get to comments before we have to close out, and I want to close out.
I had two honorable mentions.
Okay,
but
go ahead.
There's something I stumbled across. Suppose you get a piece of music or some music that you have the name to the song, but you don't have the album art or the artist or anything like that. Or you have the vice versa. You have the artist and you need to find the name of the song and the album. There's a tool I stumbled across. It's called Music Brains Picard.
Oh, yeah.
That tool is absolutely wonderful for doing that, and it also gets all your tags for your song once you've figured out what you need.
I believe I know Lollipop ties into that, and
is it open?
It'll even get the barcode for the album and put it in the tags.
That's amazing.
I also believe that Cinnamon and Strawberry, the two applications, also does this.
Yeah,
that used to be a thing in Windows years ago that I used to love to do when I ripped CDs or DVDs. Even I ripped DVDs for a period of time. I'm old, guys. I'm actually older than I look. I'm 40.
I think you are the youngest one here, though.
Yeah.
Barely. I mean, how old are you, Tom?
I don't know. I don't publish that stuff, but I'm older than you.
So
you're older than me.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So speaking of, I'm actually old enough to remember a world without television. Yes.
Dang. I remember cassette tapes being before CDs, and I remember like 8-tracks had just phased out around the time I was born. In the early to mid.
And I remember when we got our first cassette player, because LPs or records was the thing before that, and I remember that was the thing.
We had the record player,
and
my mother would play records when she baked cakes, because she said if the record skipped, you've ruined the cake. So it was our way to not jump around when cakes were being baked. Anyway, jumping back into the comments here. CCJ says first thing he did when he got water fixed was shaved out the beard. All right. Anonymous greetings. Welcome. Long time no see. Welcome back. War Thunder. Hello. Linux distro isn't crashing so much. Must have done something right. Oh, your Linux distro. Yeah. I hope Chrome gets separated from antitrust stuff. I don't know. I have some interesting thoughts on that. I might do a standalone video on that. Mental Outlaws case was pretty good. I liked what he said, although I'm still scratching my head. Your issue is Android and search. Chrome is not a search engine, DOJ.
Yeah.
However, I do completely understand where Mental Outlaws case was coming from, because Chrome, of course, is the one driver behind Manifest v3, which is harming ad blockers. And if they force them to sell, who's going to buy it? Microsoft or Facebook? I don't exactly think that's any better. Let's see. The kids today do not know about Dreamweaver. This is true. I know. See, I'm dating myself again. I've never used a Red Hat distro, but Batsy for games and the desktop. Yeah, I mean, I use the Red Hat type distros for servers. I don't use them for desktop stuff.
Dreamweaver rocked. I love Dreamweaver. That's all.
That song was beautiful. Dreamweaver. Okay.
So my distribution.
I understand you hating it, Tom. I could see that, but I like.
Go ahead, Selbit.
So my distribution called Magea was based off of Mandriva, which was renamed from Mandrake back in the day, which was based off Red Hat. Yeah. So my distribution is based off Red Hat.
Okay, here's a way to date myself. Nino Hedry says, your description kind of reminds me of the now dead Microsoft front page. Yeah, I had Microsoft front page too. I used Microsoft front page in the very, very first websites I built before I started.
I used Publish in 97 and then Publish in 98 to create my first website.
CCJ got lazy and moved on to WordPress. One of the biggest WordPress security vulnerabilities came out this week. If you have not addressed it, you need to address it. That is really simple security, which used to be called really simple SSL. That plugin had a 9.8 CVE, has got to be patched. And almost every WordPress uses it because for whatever stupid, harebrained, moronic idea, WordPress does not support forced SSLs. You have to use a plugin for that. And the plugin, of course, has been purchased by some advertiser crap company. And so the only way to get a good, secure SSL site on WordPress is to use a plugin that had a 9.8 CVE after it was purchased recently.
Or configure the web server to automatically redirect.
You can do that. However, on WordPress, sometimes you will get mixed content errors, and modern web browsers filter those out because WordPress is stupid. So the really simple security takes all of those WordPress things that WordPress should be doing but doesn't and rewrites them as SSL. And so it solves that problem of mixed server content stuff, which usually that approach does work, but there's many times on WordPress it doesn't.
So when WordPress filters that out, it just does not show up.
The web browsers, modern web browsers do not show non-SSL content on SSL sites. They calls it mixed content, and the default for modern browsers is to filter them out.
Right, because if you're going to have an SSL enabled, obviously you can't be doing that.
And the problem with WordPress is many aspects of WordPress uses relative paths, so it uses the SSL automatically. But there are some particularly plugin developers that you have to that they hard code things in, and it doesn't necessarily go to the SSL. Go ahead, Selby.
Yeah, so I remember, so the 20 years ago, 22 or so years ago, when after a while I started to become picky about security settings on Internet Explorer that was used at the time. So I used Internet Explorer 4 and later 5 and so on.
Yeah.
And I remember that in the internet settings of the Internet Explorer, the default setting was to they had a specific setting to give you a warning if you used an encrypted version of a site, not an unencrypted. So
warning, this site is encrypted.
Yeah. So how now it could be complete other way around, which is the way to go.
Talk about old web developer software, though. I've actually used Netscape Composer. That's how old I am.
Oh boy!
And there was also, I remember also at the same time there was a little further down in the same settings. So you had to use the advanced settings in order to find this. You also had a checkbox if you didn't want encrypted content to be saved in your local cache.
Yeah. Ooh, got a little salt in my pepper. That's right. Adobe ruined a lot of good software. Yep. V. Thomas went to graphic design finishing school. He refuses to use Linux. We like you anyway. You can still hang out. We won't ban you yet. Let's see. Flash was everywhere till Adobe got a hold of it. Yep. Let's see. A spy plugin for Blender. It's just some really cool virtual image staging stuff. Yep.
Can I make a confession?
No.
If you're on Windows right now, I'm booting you off.
Well, sorta. I'm not on Windows on my phone. I'm on iOS, obviously, but
iOS,
it's getting ready to boot back into Linux very soon.
All right.
Like literally within minutes, I promise. My confession is that Windows backup is really, really cool in Windows 11, but don't do it.
Blasphemy.
Do it. They're so insidious with this stuff.
Blasphemy.
They're going to try to suck up everything to OneDrive. And I caught myself relying on this for clients that did not pay they did not pay for the additional computer to have backup. And I'm like, you know what? I would rather I would rather just not use Windows backup, and I feel so guilty about that. So that's my confession.
I'm about to.
solution
And it's
to
a
that.
lesson.
I'm about to boot Mark out of here for that.
Yeah, so
All right,
Mark, there is a good. So if you want absolution, just do 3 Hail Marys and what will be fine.
Yes.
Yeah, well, my point was there's a lesson because as stream, sometimes Windows gets something right, but even when they get it right, they're so insidious and they want to suck your data to the OneDrive, and you got to be careful and you got to have a sound mind and be vigilant about not letting them do that, because these companies are doing things in such a way to make you want it, make you desire it, and it makes my life easier. The clients love it. I've got to not do that because it's just not good to have anything in OneDrive that is not something that you would not be okay with some weirdo online finding. And
if it doesn't hurt, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to cause pain, but it just you've got to be more vigilant. It's just a lesson. I had a come to Jesus moment about it, and I'm like, my vision is to protect and empower end users. What the crap am I doing? Why would I do that?
Okay.
So I've got to roll that back on every machine that I did the OneDrive with Windows backup on.
Yeah, so
so it's just a lesson learned.
Yeah, and so this rollback is your penance.
Yeah, you gotta roll back, and you still have to do the 4 Hail Linux.
Yes, my penance.
It's Hail Linux.
Yeah, the Hail Marys. I mean, it's important that we share lessons from time to time. So moving on.
Okay, just looking at that was our Blu-ray discussion. That's how far back behind I am right now in comments. Somebody did talk about Debian with solar panels somewhere. Come on, that's me, man. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Although I'm using Linux Mint with my solar panels.
I hope that Blu-ray information did help somebody, because I went through an awful lot of investigated hell to make it work.
CCJ here says movies were 720p and TV shows were 480p. I think he's talking about the DVDs. That might be
Hail Mary.
Yeah, they do.
The DVDs are 480p. So the 720p is HD. That was the first HD version.
Yes.
It is incompatible with DVD.
Yeah, I didn't think DVDs had the HD version. Because you can only get 800 megabytes on a DVD, and a full length movie would be significantly larger than that on 720p.
A full length DVD is 4 point something gigabytes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking of the CDs were 800 megabytes.
Yeah,
yes, you're right. Correct.
I got DVDs. They were sold either way. Matter of fact, when you rented them, they came two-sided, one in widescreen and the other in normal TV, like the boob tube was.
Yeah, I have a number of those. I actually have one of the earliest print-off DVDs where you actually had to flip the DVD over halfway through.
Yeah.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Yeah.
So Christopher Noble in the chat in the comments says that he still have one laptop with Windows just for offline classic gaming. I use a virtual machine for the same purpose, only using Windows 98.
Okay, so Night of Light says Oracle made OpenOffice, although Apache is the current owner. So Oracle made it.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Commodore fans tried many different Office suites, but sticking with LibreOffice. Had to admit it. Google Docs when I had Chromebook. Okay, we'll keep you around too, though. Okay. So you remember K-Office when you used Linux in the bit? Yeah, I think that's the one that is cut. I think are just re-releasing that. That was the one that Chaos was doing LibreOffice, which they could patch through Qt. But with the release of KDE actually doing their Office again recently, Chaos put that back in as an option now.
Yeah, I remember the first Office suite that I used in Linux for almost 10 years was K-Office because it was really excellent and it was lower. It used low and didn't use much resources, so it was really fast.
Yeah, that sounds good. Who is masochistic enough to put Linux on a Chromebook? That is a good question.
Yeah.
I've tried to do that before. Ugh.
I
It
did
just
it.
depends on which
The Commodore
Chromebook it is.
says that they made DVDs, dual layer ones. I got some here that are 8.5 gigabytes. I got some I can burn.
Yeah, the dual layer ones you can. It had the 4.5 gig and then another layer, another 4.5 gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, the data association that I'm a member of, a Norwegian Unix user group, we have been for a little over a year been involved in collecting laptops from companies and citizens who donate laptops, and then we install Debian EDU on them and ship them to Ukraine. Some of those laptops are Chromebooks. So it is possible, but on the Chromebook, so we have an automated install. So in Debian-based systems, you can use a pre-seed file in order to automate some of the questions, and we have automated every single question that is asked. And on Chromebooks, we have a separate pre-seed file, which have a fewer application installed due to the lower hard drivers on the Chromebooks.
I found my Debian and solar panel stuff. So V Thomas says, think of leaving Babylon, running away into the woods, and doing a Debian installation. Well, join me, man. And Night of Light says you'd want to do off-grid Debian. We'll need solar panels and wind power. Yes. Solar panels just don't go in the Northeast. I am never van lifing on the East Coast again in the wintertime. I'm done. 6 days. I haven't seen the sun.
Blu-rays,
I need solar
25
panels.
gigabytes.
Yeah.
How much?
Also, this
25
weekend,
gigabytes for Blu-ray.
this weekend I'm going through and disabling,
Hey, Mark,
removing,
hold on.
and
Mark,
disabling.
Hold on. Dan was talking. Go ahead, Dan.
I got a whole spindle here of burnable Blu-rays.
And they're how big?
25 gigabytes.
Yeah, so there are two versions of those. They're 25 gig and 50 gigs, and I believe that the 50 gigs are dual layers.
Are those
four layers?
Are those DVDs? That big?
No, these are Blu-rays.
Blu-rays. Okay, I was gonna say that is not a DVD. Yeah, Blu-ray. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I think the 50s are way out there, like 4 layers.
Here's a good question here. Christopher Noble, why isn't Snap on a clean install of Linux Mint? Okay, so the reason is because Snap, while the snaps themselves are open source, the distribution model is centralized and proprietary. And because it's a centralized and proprietary system, Linux Mint takes the approach, we don't want to force proprietary software on you. The problem is Ubuntu, which the basic version of Linux Mint is based on, started forcing snaps by doing things like Firefox, Thunderbird, Chromium, and a bunch of other very popular software as a snap version. And if you went in a terminal to install one of those applications, all that would happen is your system would install Snap and then install the Snap version of it. So Linux Mint saw that and said, you're forcing proprietary software on our users' computers, and we don't want that. So Linux Mint, not only does it not include Snap, it actually blocks the installation of Snap unless you explicitly want it installed, and it gives you instructions. So they do it to prevent Ubuntu software from installing proprietary centralized software distribution systems on your system. That's exactly why. Go ahead, Salbe.
Yeah,
Also, Snap is trust me, bro.
Yeah. So the proprietary part of Snap is that. So there are 2 steps to this, which on the FlatHub also is. So you have a client, local client, in order which you fetch available packages and install something, and then you have a server component where everything comes from. On Snaps, the server component is proprietary and closed source. So there is no way to create your own Snap server if you wanted to, which is why and also when you install a Snap package, even if you install an open source one, you cannot change the local software in any way, which makes it proprietary, even though the software is open source. So this is why they did the active decision to prohibit this, unless you really want to.
Yeah, they don't make an unsnap tool.
Yeah, and then the good news about all this is all of this forcing Snap, forcing Firefox through a Snap on all these distributions is actually the precipitating factor by which Firefox ultimately released a deb that can be installed on any Debian-based system without using Snap. So it turned out to be a decent thing overall.
Yeah.
And also the distribution that I'm using, Mageia, or Mageia, depending on your pronunciation. We have taken the decision to not support it in any way if you don't even package it, because you have, in order for the Snap to work, you have to, at least every 2 months, you have to update to the latest Snap, local Snap client, or it will no longer connect to the Snap server. And that is too much work, given our the number of packages that we have. So it's too hard a burden. So
which is the precipitating factor why Solus is dropping snaps. Apparently, Solby really wants to keep speaking.
Yeah, so I'm trying to hit the mute button, and then I need to move my hand in order to do that.
Let's see. See if there's anything else over here. It was Sun, not Oracle. Okay, we're still getting some debate about who actually owns / controls / whatever OnlyOffice. Who cares? They haven't had a major update in a long time. Do we care anymore?
Yeah, so OpenOffice, when it went open source, its old name was Star Office, which was proprietary. So if those who remember Star Office, that became OpenOffice at some point.
Yeah, V Thomas says, a van is great, but yeah, a bit testing over the winter. Well, usually this time of the year, I'm in California or Arizona or somewhere that has sun most of the year, not clouds most of the year. Which even then, the gap from right around Thanksgiving to about 2 or 3 weeks after the new year is really, really bad on solar, even if it's super sunny. So usually that's why in that period of time, I'm in one centralized location over by Parker, Arizona, where I have friends and access to a church that I can go and plug my van into anytime I need to. So usually I'm not as impacted. But right now, not only is it approaching that time of the year, it's also been excessively cloudy. I am not getting solar power. So,
you're not getting enough photons, dude.
Yeah, I should have, and I'm trying not to drive a lot. I should have probably invested in that propane generator before this season, but oh well, I didn't. Maybe I'll see if I can order one and get one somewhere. The problem is I don't know of any store I can go and pick one up. Like nobody carries it. I'd have to order it online. All right, that was our YouTube comments. And let me check, see what's going on over on Odyssey, where everyone Odysseyed us. We still have 13 watching over there. Not a whole lot going on. We got some num nummies, roasting garlic cloves in the air fryer. Yeah, not a lot going on over there. Mark has joined the dark side. Come to the resistance, the Linux freedom movement.
Just take your van to an electric car charger and plug your battery into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. The problem is I could go to any store and buy a generator, but almost every store, the only generator they carry in stock is a gasoline generator. I can't carry around a gasoline generator because then that requires gasoline, and I don't have, nor will I get, an external carrying system. I don't want to mess with that external system in any way. And so I would be limited to a propane or diesel. I can do either one of those. The problem is getting a small propane or diesel generator. I can get them. They're only a few $100. I can afford them. No physical store carries them. I have to order it from Amazon, which is kind of a problem with this crazy world. Is the van insulated for the winter? Yeah, we have. I have 4 inches of XPS insulation in the walls. I have 1.5 inches in the ceiling and 3/4 inch on the floor, and I have a forced air diesel heater that is excessively hot.
Good. We wouldn't want the kitties to freeze.
Yeah, actually, I did, since I have an infrared thermometer now. I went ahead and probed that last time I was running it. That thing gets up to 384 Fahrenheit. That exhaust system.
I'll be a better Jedi moving forward.
Be a better Jedi. That's right.
And also
Adobe
that-
has tempted me with their AI. So far, I have said no.
No.
And also the problem with gasoline versus diesel is that gasoline is explosive, whereas diesel is not.
Well,
You have the
that's
same problem,
that's
you have
the
same problem
thing.
with the gas, with the gas bottles, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is it's volatile is the biggest thing. So I can't have a gas can inside the van, but I can have a diesel can inside the van, and I do. I have I actually right now I have 4 gallons of diesel fuel in the van. So if I had a diesel generator, I just fill it up full of diesel fuel, throw it out back, and plug it into the van. Yeah. Do you have any idea how to change the volume increments from 5% to 1% in Linux Mint? Don't know where it's supposed to be. Deconfig. From 5% to 1%. No, I don't. However, there is a really good matrix board for Linux Mint that could probably answer that question.
What I do is so I have multimedia keys on my 2 keyboards, my main keyboards, and when I use the up and down volume, it turns the volume up or down 5% points and increments.
Yeah. All right. I think we have gotten through all of the comments, so I think we are going to close this out. Hey, it was a success on the laptop, and I still have, let's see. Well, my power is down to 12.9 volts, which is significantly higher than it would be if the big streaming computer was on. We did not drop any frames, and the CPU is running at 26%. So I would say it works pretty good. I will be back to the regular streaming computer for the news tomorrow, though, because, yeah, it does work a lot better over there. Especially
and apparently it wasn't any big problems with the Jitsi server either. So
yeah, we didn't have any issues. I don't know. I might actually be able to do the news like this just fine. In fact, I don't know. Maybe I should try the news on this. Nah, I don't know. I should be fine. Anyway, so
and
tonight
also just even so we are closing. Just so a couple of days ago, Brody Robertson did a video on what you should not do if you want to participate in the kernel project. So if you have patches that you want to support, like a device, there are some things that you need to do. And the Tuxedo computer, they have their own kernel driver, which was licensed GPL v3+, but the kernel is GPL v2 only, and they did some changes in the backend in order to circumvent the check for the code, and it was and because they asked some questions, the kernel developers noticed this and they changed something which stopped them. So that's a video that I recommend. Never annoy the Linux kernel developers from Brody Robertson. It's hilarious.
yeah,
And they
don't do
did
that.
change the license eventually to be the same as the kernel project after the kernel project got annoyed.
Yeah. Anyway, 45 minutes. We have a Christian video premiering on YouTube Odyssey and Rumble. So if you catch those, that is up there. And we will be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. with the weekly news roundup. So we